Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. We're back, we're raring to go. And we got an email this time from the boy Mark. Thanks as always. Again, that's unversedpodcast@gmail.com if you want to send any of those in. This was supposed to be for Halloween, but I don't know, we didn't get the email for some reason. But he asked, what were some scary things when you were growing up that still affect you today, like movies, games, etc.?
One thing that did freak me out when I was a kid, and it still kind of does to this day, was I remember the first time seeing The Grudge, and that shit gave me nightmares for like 2 weeks straight. Yeah, that was just... It still kind of freaks me out a little bit to this day. I could agree with you, though, Danny. Like water.
I've always been afraid of like very small like instances of like, I wouldn't say torture, but like just small instances like paper cuts and fucking like getting like a hangnail and stuff like that. Like I remember I used to watch this anime when I was a kid. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember they like did like some torture shit where they like took his hand and then like, stuck like a little bamboo shoot under his fingernail and like flicked off his fingernail.
Ouch. Oh yeah.
It reminds me of like that episode of SpongeBob, where Squidward is moving his couch and he like stubs his toe and he just drags it out like. So yeah,
I do remember that
stuff like that. Like if that freaks me out, like that's my main concern right there. I gotta keep all my digits and my appendages to myself, bruh.
Yeah, I remember that episode. That was an actually funny episode.
And then finally, he asked, "What is your favorite Halloween movie growing up?" For me, that's a good question because I don't remember. Like I've seen a lot of Halloween movies, but I don't remember one that would come to mind. I will say the first Insidious was a good time because I was with a group of friends on Halloween night and we watched it. And then, there's the shot in the baby's room where the devil or whatever it is like right there in the windowsill. And we were all like, oh shit, look, it's right there. And our friend said like, what are you guys talking about? We literally we paused the movie and we had to point at the screen and she still didn't see it. And then she's like, oh, now I see it. I was like, yeah, you fucking... that was a good time.
I don't know. That wasn't like my best genre. I used to watch a lot of sci-fi movies. And I like to think that a majority of those would be considered horror just because, like the whole sci-fi thing. And then they did have like their little special Halloween movies and stuff. But if I had to think about it, I would say it's probably a really more on the shitty side of horror movies. But I always liked that was it, A House on the Haunted Hill or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I remember that movie. That's an old one, yeah, like early thousands, I think. Or have they remade it? I feel like that's one they've remade before.
Yeah, I think it's like it's an older movie and it got remade in like the last decade or so. And then from there on, like the Sci-Fi Channel always had like their little spin-offs whenever like a good movie came out. And I remember them having like that movie, the sequel, and then they had like their own little spin-off to that movie, which is like pretty much like the origin of like how the house was haunted and shit. Anyway, it's a bunch of bullshit, but there's my favorites.
For me, I love to see all the time is, John Carpenter's Halloween. But I do like a lot of John Carpenter films. Another one that really I love to watch all the time during Halloween is Shaun of the Dead. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's a great answer.
But yeah, as for Halloween movies, I would say if you guys ever seen Trick or Treat, that's a good one too.
Leading up to Halloween, I rewatched Creepers Jeepers 2, and I was like, oh, this is still a solid Halloween movie.
I love the creature design for it.
Yes.
It's a pretty cool creature design. Though I don't know if you're aware, Danny, I don't mean to go south with this one, but apparently those movies are not well received because of
the director, right?
Yeah, the things that director has done.
I remember when 3 came out, or it was getting ready to come out in theaters, and I was like, oh, they're making a third movie. And then I saw some backlash for it. I'm like, why are people hating on Jeepers Creepers? And then looked into it. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, the director did some stuff in the 90s.
You know what I recommend too, guys? If you guys haven't seen it, Wes Craven's Wishmaster. I love the character design, the monster design for the Wishmaster. It's basically a killer genie, guys. That's what it basically is.
So, all right, man. Thanks, Mark, for the email. And again, that's unverspodcast@gmail.com. So let's go ahead, man, get into this episode. Not a lot of stuff happening, I guess. But I guess the big thing I could talk about just for a bit is PlayStation 5 is out. I was able to grab one myself. Just shout out to Amazon's very fast checkout process. I think that was, if it wasn't as fast as it is, I probably wouldn't have gotten it because I tried to get it at Walmart. No, not Walmart. I tried to get it at Target. And then my login was messed up. I tried to get it at Walmart. And then when I added it to my cart, it was already gone. I'm like, dude, not even a whole minute has passed, guys. And I wonder if that has to do with COVID or not, as far as how many units they have. Because I know they said before that they weren't going to drop that many units, which is crazy to me because it's like that's usually a Nintendo thing. I didn't think the PlayStation 5, one of the most hyped consoles to come out for next gen, would be a limited run. They are still doing small waves here and there. Supposedly, there's going to be more during Black Friday.
Yeah, but I'm definitely still going to wait. When all this craziness is over and settled, I'm going to...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a real rush. I mean, the only game that I really want to play that is next gen is Miles Morales. And I know it's on PS4, but I figured, well, if I could get the PS5, then I'll just play it on there. And I still have to go grab a copy. But so I checked it out, set it up. I knew this was a big boy. Man, it's like you don't know how big it is until you actually get it in your hands, man. Like this thing is huge. It's got some weight to it. I was very surprised how heavy it was.
How much weight is it?
Oh, it's like way more than the PS4 for sure. It just caught me by surprise. I didn't think a console would be that heavy, but based on the size, I guess so. But yeah, it's cool, man. I grabbed the controller, and I've said here on the episode, I never liked the design for it. It looks a little too, I don't know, too bulky or whatever. I like the PS4 the best, but actually getting in my hands, it feels fine.
How's that controller?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really played anything yet. I've just set up the PlayStation, but it feels it feels like a normal PS4 controller, just a different shape.
Is it the same dimensions? Sorry, I had to cut you off. Is it the same dimensions, or is it like a little... Because I know, like, I don't know if you've recently touched an Xbox controller, but I remember, like, the firm difference between, like, having, like, the Xbox controller in hand versus the PlayStation controller in hand. Like, for DualShock 4 and DualShock 3, we were used to having, like, that circular cylindrical grip. Do you feel like fundamentally changes the ergonomic designs that DualShock 3 and DualShock 4 had?
It's funny you bring up the DualShock 3, right, the PS3 controller, because I remember I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, it does feel a little different compared DualSense does. But I do remember like, oh, I love the PS4 controller. And I was like, I mean, it's not that different from PS3, right? And then I grabbed my old PS3 controller. I was like, oh no, this feels way different. PS4 is definitely more comfortable in my hand than any other controller. Grabbing the DualSense here, it's more or less the same, but it does fill your hand up more. Definitely the handles on the bottom, just comparing them right now, it just fills up your hand a little more from there, so it feels bigger, but it's not really that much difference. I mean, the handles are a little longer. I'm sure in time I'll probably get used to it. Just find a way to grip it how I want to make it more comfortable. But it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, so that's cool. But yeah, again, my only worry is that the PlayStation button itself in the center would get stuck, since it's like based off the actual logo and it's not like a circular button as it is on the DualShock.
I saw on Twitter that at least for Demon Souls, the button actually has more than just one functionality than to just take you to the HUD screen. If you beat Demon Souls and you're already like in New Game Plus or whatever the case is, you can use your PlayStation Home button to like act as your Fire Link basically, and you can like teleport to different areas. But in that instance, yeah, like if you do it away from a Fire Link shrine, it'll cost you souls for doing it.
Yeah, they showed off that feature with Sackboy's Big Adventure, and how they showed it off there was like it'll keep track of trophies and progress for the game. And if it said like, hey, you missed this thing over here in this section of the level, and you click on that prompt, it'll fast travel you to that area. like it wants you to be more interactive with the game like that. Personally, I'm not a fan of that. I rather just go there myself in game rather than just take the shortcut. But yeah, that's cool. I didn't know Demon Souls had that.
I want to really try those haptic feedback triggers. That's what I want to do. I want to really see how like Resistances has to like the in-game thing, because I heard with Spider-Man, like the very end of the trigger pull, like it has a resistance to it. It very much imitating like web swinging and stuff.
Yeah, I know, and I know like in shooters, I don't know if all of them, but I know a few of them will do that too. Where if you're out of ammo and you haven't reload, you won't be able to pull the trigger all the way back, and that'll kind of tell you like, oh, you should reload.
That's pretty cool.
The PS5 again does come pre-installed with Astro's Playroom, and that's sort of it's like a game that's showing you how the controller is. So I'm probably going to touch that and just see what the big hype is for haptic feedback, because I'm still not convinced that we even need it.
In Spider-Man, there's an option to turn it off, is what I heard. I'm pretty sure most games are going to have the option to have it off, though, for sure, if it needs it off. Because, like how there's the option for it to have Rumble feature off.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope this controller blows minds, because we've only had 6-axis and just Rumble features, really, huh? Just those two features that really,
I mean, there was, I guess you could say the touchpad for DualShock 4 was the other big feature, but not a lot of games used it. It's still there to appreciate. I do know there are some games that require the haptic feedback on the controller. I think the Pathless, which is that indie game from the Abzu team, I think that requires it. Because I was looking at it on PSN for PS4, and it says like, yeah, you need to have that if you're going to play it on PS5.
Also, do you think they're going to continue stuff like, remember how I don't know if you played it, Danny, but Until Dawn? Do you remember how, like, in some sections you have to keep your controller really still, and it was basically the light?
Yeah, you had to keep the light at a certain sensor, at a certain level, yeah. The light bar's not on the side anymore, it's, like, in the front, around the touchpad, but I'm sure we'll still see games that'll do that.
Still, though, very exciting sounding, I won't lie. Like, I know I'm going to hold off on one, but very exciting nonetheless to hear about it and have how everyone's, like, having a good time.
Yeah, so when once you set it up, you log into your account and all that. It'll give you the option to download what's on your PS4 at the moment, based on like the last time you were online for your PlayStation 4. So I thought that was cool. I was gonna hold off on that because I'm like, well, I'll just the next games I want to play that are from PS4, I'll just play it on PS5 and do that. But I am planning to go back and check out God of War, because they did do the update for that. To make it 60 frames and all that good stuff. So I want to see how different it feels and how crisp it looks on there. So I'll be hopping back on there. And I'll be streaming that too sometime this week. So that'll be at twitch.tv, /Negator7.
Are you going to get Bug Snacks, Danny? Because that's one game I'm really looking at.
Yeah, I mean, it's free for Plus for PS5. So, it's already in my library.
Shit. There you go.
Yeah, you got to cop it up.
The HUD is going to get some taking used to. I'm still very used to how the PS4 works. So, when you hit the home button, you go straight back to your screen on PS4. And then here, it'll pull up the prompts for like the, where you could go to notifications, downloads, home screen and all that. It's going to take some getting used to, but speaking of PS5, and we've all played the game, man, they announced, there's going to be a Neo collection that's going to be dropping in February.
I heard it's only going to be digital, though.
Oh, is it? Oh, I guess that makes sense, because when they did the complete edition for Neo 1, there wasn't a physical for that either.
We both have the games anyways. We have both games. I have all DLCs, so I'm good.
Yeah, so it's, Neo 1 and 2 are getting remastered for next gen. And they're going to come with all the DLC. It's going to go, I think it's going to play, I wanted to say 4K. Up to 120 frames. That's going to be good for this game specifically. I know a lot of people are like, some people are like, who cares about 120 frames and all that? But you guys remember how the frame rate can drop with certain enemies like in the distance.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be good to see how drastic that's gonna change these games. So that's cool. And then February it'll drop, and it's also going to PC for Neo 2 Complete. and that is when the final DLC drops for Neo 2. And then we got a synopsis. Basically, we're time traveling one more final time, and we're gonna
Oh
go
man.
fight this samurai guy. So
It's supposed to be like from what my understanding is, we're going to like the source of when like the demon that we've been chasing after. I keep forgetting his name. It's like Otakamaru or something like that.
yeah,
We're continuously following him through history and the other times that your other encounters, had established themselves and meeting him and defeating him. I liked this latest DLC that came out. Like it was probably one of my favorites. Like I liked the character, like your predecessor, and I also liked the fact that she was basically involved in the main story. Like she and
hmm
Seihei were those two other things that were trapping the other demons. I do regret not finishing the DLCs for the first Neo because I did want to find out, what was going on with that Cube.
oh yeah, we're getting one more difficulty as well. So for those that want to,
Oh,
grind all that out, there you go. And so if you already
nice.
own Neo 1 and 2 with the DLCs, then you'll be able to upgrade for free on PS5 as well. So that's probably where I'm going to play the last DLC.
Do you think the PS4 and PS5 Neos are going to be crossplay with each other?
Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday because, we could just join in. I would probably say yes, because, a lot of games are doing that already with crossplay. So I would assume so, but maybe because it's a remastered, that might cause some problems.
I'm gonna imagine they're gonna like fix some assets and some levels and on their characters, especially to run them at these new resolutions. So there might be like some frames and shit that aren't available in this one or that were removed or updated.
I mean, we'll just have to wait till February to find out, unless they make a statement as they, because they usually tease on social media when, just to get you hyped for the DLC, like with trailers and breakdowns of gameplay for the new stuff. So I'm sure then they'll mention it. And as hype as that is, there's always something to counteract that, and that's over with the boys at Yakuza, right? The main director for the series. He was, I think he was talking in an interview recently or something, and it was brought up about Kiryu, and of course Tekken, right? Like, are we going to be able to see Kiryu in a fighting game? Because he's one of the most requested characters for Tekken 7. And I'm a big pro get Kiryu in there, man. And just to summarize, basically what he said is they'll find it difficult to see Kiryu in a fighting game, mainly because there are female characters, and Kiryu is a character that doesn't hit women, so the director wouldn't want to see Kiryu in a game like that where he could just beat up Lucky Chloe and all that. And as true as it is to keep with the character, right, it just sucks to hear that, like, oh, so that might mean we're not going to see Kiryu in a fighting game, which to me really sucks, but that could mean we could see Majima, because I doubt Majima would even care who he punches or stabs, right? So
Yeah, it was. When I heard that news, I'm like, oh man, I really wanted Kiryu. The more I would play Yakuza, the more I would be like, God, he's so perfect for Tekken. But if I will respect that decision.
and I know people would be fine with having just Majima instead. But hey, speaking of Yakuza, Oscar, you just beat Zero not that long ago.
It was definitely a roller coaster, man. My attention towards the story at the very beginning was very like reluctant. I didn't really feel like it was grabbing me. And then as like the chapters go on, like it's kind of like twist after twist, and like I know it's basically what everyone expects, but by the time that I got to the very climax of everything that was happening, I was so involved. Like every single initial feeling that I had towards the very beginning of the game was replaced with just a drive to finish the story at the end of the game. I did the majority of all the sub stories. I did like my my casual attempts at like the mini games here and there. Just trying to like just kind of get through things, get abilities, do all that other stuff. Grind for money, and like through the tenacity and tediousness of it all, I was like, okay, I pretty much finished the most of the main stuff, and then I just gotta, grind through some dream machines to see if I get these parts, and just keep going back to doing the real estate or the club cabaret battles just to make some money. I just kept thinking to myself, like, man, like I just want to make this money, just finish getting all the abilities so I can go and finish the story. The story, my God, so fucking cool, man. Like I can definitely see how this like made Kazuma Kiryu like the Dragon of Dojima, and how it made Goro like the Mad Dog of Shimano. Like it totally makes fucking sense after saying all of this shit now. And like I'm without a doubt, definitely Yakuza 0 would be the one that everyone needs to play as the introductory. I played Yakuza 1 first. I played Kiwami because it was like free, I think, for like October last year or the year before, I don't remember. And I played that, and it really took up a lot of my time, doing the sub stories for that game and going through the story for that. And a lot of things were pretty much lost on me. I know that, I think if I remember correctly, 0 wasn't the very first one that came out. It's Yakuza 1, and then they just introduced 0 like later into the series, to kind of like
I think 0 came out before 6 came out.
Okay, so like playing Yakuza 1 first definitely gives you the feeling like some things are just going to be lost on you because you're introduced to all of these characters basically consecutively. Like you don't really know who these people are, how powerful they are until like you get to the very end of the story, and even then they're like not really involved with you. They're pretty much just like a one-shot story character, and then like next chapter you're doing something else. So now that you have like this backlog of like of history and with all the characters and how they like come to be and their powers and stuff like that, it's just like, oh, this is gonna make a lot more sense now. So I would definitely recommend that if you're interested in Yakuza, you really like the whole beat 'em up action thing. Like I said, my favorite enjoyment is this is a game that I can really relax to. It's a game that I don't really have to think about. Like the story pretty much drives itself, so it's not something that you're gonna think too hard on. Like, and when you don't feel like doing something tedious like doing a story, you can just like bullshit. Like there's plenty of mini games for you to do, plenty of sub stories for you to do. It's just like when you don't feel like being an adult, you can just turn right the fuck around and you can be a kid doing all of this other sub stories and shit. I love that game so much. I love it.
I haven't beat Yakuza 0 yet. I'm still trying to do the Cabaret Club stuff. Like you said, it was a grind. It is definitely a grind. Yeah, I would have to agree, Oscar. This is becoming one of my favorite games of all time. Or one of my top favorite games because, I don't know, I've put so much time into this game that every minute has like, I've been doing something, like either looking for the cards, beating up Mr. Takedown, beating up delinquents and stuff on the streets, running into sub-stories, just so much shit to do in this game. It makes Grand Theft Auto look like a fucking freemium game, you know what I mean? So, like, I still need to do that final thing, like that taxi ride, when Nishiki tells you, like, hey, well, there's no coming back. This is the last thing. So I just been held up there doing the side stuff. But yeah, and it's not only that, like the amount of things you could do, the messages they try to portray with the sub stories, it's super wholesome, and some things here and there, man, I'll admit, dude, it really got to me because it hit home. Some of the things they said, like, I'm super glad that it's getting the spotlight that it's getting, and how I got interested into it too. So it's just a good series. I can't believe I've been missing out on this.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And to think it's such a long franchise, right? It started on PS2 era.
Mm-hmm.
I think the memes is probably on my end what got my attention. I know definitely Vampy, friend of the show, when she would stream the game, I was like, oh, this game looks cool. What is this? And then, of course, watching Eyepatch Wolf's video, why you should play Yakuza, definitely, that told me, I'm like, oh, I should definitely play this game, because that video reminded me, like, this feels like a delinquent manga series, and I really like those mangas. And then playing the game, I was like, yeah, this is definitely like a delinquent manga. Like, I'm totally ready for this. And I just beat chapter 5 the other day. And I'm kind of taking my time with the game right now. But no, yeah, it's still fun. The side stuff can definitely be, there's a wide range of, wholesome stuff for the most part that I enjoy. And then there's just the wacky stuff, like the dominatrix side quests, the sugar daddy ones. I did those recently, and I'm like, yeah, this is fun. Like, I'm glad that they could just be wacky and do whatever they want for the side stories.
Out there. Dude, Danny, you need to do the telephone mini games. You have to.
Oh, yeah.
Those were fucking funny. Me and Pepe were losing our shit with that one.
Which ones are you talking about?
The telephone one where you go where you're Kiryu.
Oh, yeah. I was just about to mention that. The telephone games.
They're kind of hard, though. I won't lie. They're pretty kind of hard because it's
the thing I hate about it is they're random. To me, they're random.
It is very random.
You have to really like kind of work your way, and if you don't really remember the dialogue, the conversations that you had with the same girls before, you can end up like repeating the same dates and stuff like that. And yeah, there's like I think 6 mini games involved with the telephone game, but I have to agree with Julian. It's fucking amazing. It's like one of the best things about the game.
Great stuff. I can't wait to go through the whole series, because Like a Dragon is out, and I've been seeing some stuff on Twitter.
Oh my god, I can't wait to get to it, man. Fuck.
I could go to 2 now if I just want to continue the story, but I'm gonna focus on platinuming each game. Going through it. Really just getting to enjoy the series. Hopefully that makes me more familiar with the characters. I think that just generally overall, when you put a little bit more emphasis and effort into it, you tend to love the series more overall. So the only other thing that I think I wanted to mention about Zero is more or less they have like an extreme difficulty feature, like the legend difficulty. One of the things that I'm kind of excited about, I haven't tried it in this one, but I think I remember in the last game, like the legend difficulty just goes super extreme. Like it's like characters and like enemies will be able to like definitely like try to take a good majority of your health, especially if you even have like max health and stuff like that. So I mean, like I think you would be interested in it, Danny, because it reminds me of like the Heaven or Hell difficulty, or like the Dante Must Die difficulty, like when you get to like that measure of like Devil May Cry, or like I guess like the Way of the Wise, the Way of the Strong, the Way of the Neo, the Way of the Demon. For like the increased difficulties for Neo. So
yeah, I can't wait to dive more into it and just get in with because it's a fun game, but then once we hit these cutscenes for the story, that's when I really like focus in, and I'm like, oh dude, let me just see what's going on. Because like the one thing that I really love about this game so far is like the tension that builds up between characters during critical moments. Like there was one, and I think it was in chapter 4 with Majima, right, when he's getting that massage, right, and then the other person comes in, and just like the way that they talk to each other right before we get into the fight was amazing. And then right now at the end of chapter 5 that I beat with Kiryu, and he's with who is it, Awano, I think it was, like he just showed up and was like he's like, Kiryu, what the fuck's going on, man? And like just the way things were going on, I'm like, this is like, the writing's fantastic, man. I can't wait to just see more of that.
Yeah. Those are really great moments, especially towards the end. It's pretty staple in the series when they meet, like the respective like villains and bad guys, who are on their level. I think in that case you're definitely gonna like 1, because 1 definitely has a lot of those moments. Kiwami. It's good.
Yeah, the first 2 games for Yakuza are more serious and focused on the story like that, because when I would look up like the karaoke songs, you never find anything past 4 or 3. And like that was just the early days of when it was a new franchise before they wanted to get wacky. That'll be interesting to see how different Zero and Kiwami is from each other, just based on that.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
Question is though, when are we gonna cosplay as Yakuza?
I'm ready, dude. I'm so ready.
I'm super ready. So I don't know who, but I'm just gonna.
I think for my hair, I can pull off the new guy, the guy from Seven. I think it was his name.
Yeah. Was his name Ichiban?
Ichiban, yeah.
Yeah.
That game's gonna be so fun, guys. Just thinking about it, it's just gonna be so fun.
Do both of you have it already?
No, I don't. But like, I probably will buy it soon. I want to buy them all physically. TBH.
Yes.
Even Zero. No, not Zero. I'm good with Zero. I'll just buy Kiwami 2.
Yeah, I own all the Yakuza games physically. Just mainly because like, oh man, these steelbooks look really nice for Kiwami 2 and 7, or Like a Dragon as it's called out here. Those are nice, and then the collection for 3 through 5, and then 0 and 6. And then I have Lost Paradise digitally, but I do also want to grab Judgment at one point and see what's going on there. And then on my end, started playing some No More Heroes. I don't think I mentioned it I'm not sure if I mentioned it last time on the podcast, but I've been streaming it, and I'm more than halfway done through the game, and I didn't know anything about the series other than like I just know this guy's name's Travis Touchdown. He looks pretty cool, and people want him in Smash. And so hopping it in on the Switch, it looks great on there, nice and crisp. The colors are solid, and I've heard this is the best version of the game too. So that's a nice touch. And I gotta say, man, this game is great. The dialogue, Travis Touchdown himself. Just the way characters or the people that you fight are introduced, all the bosses, it's really great.
I was actually looking at a Did You Know Gaming that they did on No More Heroes, and it's about a year old. I was considering sending it to you, but I was gonna hold off until you beat the game first, because it does talk about, I think, both of the games, and I just didn't. I was like, this might be too much for him right now, but yeah. It was,
okay.
Looking into it, I was like, yeah, Grasshopper Studios, they're definitely on some real ones. If you're not familiar with some of their other games, they did Killer 7.
I've heard of Killer 7.
They actually participated in helped create one of the Samurai Champloo games. I don't know if it was on
PS3,
it was
PS2.
It was a PS2 game. And that's like, you can kind of see, if you remember that game, like they did capture some elements from that and put it into No More Heroes. I forgot what the other game was, but it was the Blood Plus game.
Yeah.
So they had they had their hands on some good stuff, and I remember anime games back in the day, not like now, because now it's like, you get an anime game, it's probably 100% gonna be like done by Namco Bandai.
Yeah, by Spike Soft and all them. Yeah.
Their games are kind of vanilla. Like, they have like a format. They're either going to make it a fighting game or like a small sandbox or one thing or another, and it never really changes from that formula. But one of the things that they did back in the day for anime games, they all kind of made them their own individual things, and that was really cool. And those games are pretty badass. Like, I was watching that thing and I was like, man, really wish I had my hands on that Samurai Champloo game. Like, that would have been lit. No More Heroes is a really good game. I would consider it like to be one of those childhood games. I remember, I saw it when I first entered high school, and now like even a decade later, basically, it's still a pretty prominent game. Like, a lot of people, might not be aware of it, but at least know it's a cult classic.
I think my favorite aspect for the game so far is just how over the top it can be. Very similar to how Devil May Cry is, with how crazy that game could be. It's really fun, but my only thing with the game, I've said it on stream too, is that like I'm liking it, but I understand it's one of those games where it's like, oh, we're focused on just the action, the settings here, and there is some semblance of a story here. But for me, I always appreciate a good story in a game, so I'm hoping that'll change when 2 and then whenever 3 comes out. get some more story stuff, because like we get bits and pieces. Like we understand who Travis is as a character, and I think that's pretty much all we really get. We understand his morals and why he's doing what he wants to do, and it's all fun. Yeah, I just wish there was always more substance on that end. And all the cutscenes interactions are just really great with him and what's her name, Sylvia? Yeah, those interactions are great, man, because I'm just like, oh, he's just big horny the whole time with her. It's so fun.
Yeah, she's a great character. They actually go a little bit more into, we were talking about the other day. I think I can tell you this much. You were streaming and you were talking about who does she remind you of? Like, is she based off somebody? And I was just saying, oh, it was just Sylvia from Beautiful Joe.
Oh, right.
So when I was watching the Did You Know Gaming, it turns out that they modeled her off of Scarlett Johansson. So I was like, side by side, I don't really think that you would see it, especially because of just how blonde she is. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, like I can probably understand. I can understand the mindset,
I think there's 4 more bosses to go, and then there is the secret boss, I guess. So I'll be grinding and doing that all on stream throughout the weeks here. So yeah, I can't wait to get back on that. In other news, we got another update from SIU, the author for Tower of God. There was supposed to be a new chapter coming out very soon, but his latest update was when he was drawing the chapters, he was having some pain in his wrists, so he's going to be taking a longer break, which is, I think they said only a few weeks, so it's nothing too major, but yeah, like Adam always said, we can wait as long as we want, just make sure you get better at the end of the day for that. So for the next Webtoon episode, which should be out this week, we'll probably won't be covering some Tower stuff just yet. Yeah, as we get closer to whenever the new chapter's out, we'll get back into all that. So yeah, just hope he gets better, and just can't wait for the series to get back in the motions. I forget, I think it's HBO. They're doing the Halo series, right, Julian? Is it them?
Yes. And yes, they are having Cortana's voice actress to return. Good, because I could not imagine Cortana sounding different. I kind of almost forgot that was even in development, but
yeah.
Yeah, my god, Halo news is so slippery slopey right now. It's getting me really fucking scared, but I'm still crossing my fingers and hoping for the best.
Team Xbox, they're just not doing well right now. One of the other things that they had mentioned about Xbox, was, I think, besides the meme that had just came out, I think day one with the smoke, right? But it was it wasn't a real thing. I mean, that was disproven really fast, but still not.
Oh yeah, the vapes and all that. Yeah,
it's not a good look.
Well, yeah. Speaking of Xbox Series X, it hasn't been on the positive end from a lot of people. I've heard it's fine for what it is, but there's no real rush to get it. One of the things people are complaining about is, just like on PS5, you can play the old gen on the console, but if you want to do, say, I think the disc version, it's still just gonna download the whole game on the console anyways. Like some people here are saying, if you wanted to play a game, the upgrade can be up to 45, 49 gigs. And that really sucks. You just want to pop your disc in, maybe get a small update to adjust it to the new gen, and then just play from there. But I think that just has to be with it's a different console, you're playing a different version of the game kind of thing.
Now, specifically what they were saying was that what this is doing is that you're buying a disc. The disc can be for any console. So it's basically like a vanilla version of the game, or at least the version of the game that will play on the least powerful console,
But yeah, I don't know. There's just been problems that have been popping up a lot on Twitter, and it just, to me, it doesn't really sound the best. Hopefully they fix all that stuff in the future for it. And I know Microsoft is not, they're not focused on the console itself. They're more about just the gaming aspect and just that making sure you stick around, like with Games Pass and all that on the cloud, like Project X Cloud, right? That's now bundled with it for Ultimate Game Pass. So I don't think they're too keen on whether or not they'll get the sales for the console, but yeah, it just sucks to hear because it's, you know, right off the launch.
Yeah, like, again, I'm not too, you know, I'm hearing all these things going on, right, for as new gen starts, and, you know, with Xbox, there's not a game that's really saying, like, to me right now that, yeah, I need to go out and buy a new Xbox, right? Because, like you said, Game Pass is just still the same.
You don't need to get, I wouldn't say you need to get the Series X at the moment, unless, you know, you do want to play a next-gen game on the next-gen console, then yeah. You know, similar to, like, I was going to get Miles Morales, but I decided to wait just so that way I could play it on PS5. Because I know there is the free upgrade, but I'm like, I'd rather just experience it on the console that they were designing it for anyways. Yeah, and I know the Series S is that console is just there if you never had an Xbox and you wanna grab something before you hop onto next gen, basically, because it doesn't, you know, it only goes up to 1440p and it doesn't it'll play the Series X games, but it's not going to be at the same level as Series X. So yeah.
Again, no rush. Until I see sequels to my favorite games or something that really grabs me, then I'll go and be like, you know what, maybe I will get an Xbox right now. But as for right now, nothing. You know, at least there's no Kinect destroying their fucking system this time, you know? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
At least they learned that much.
I said if I wasn't gonna get if I wasn't able to get a PS5, I was just gonna wait anyways until God of War 2 comes out, which is, you know, next year anyways. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, into other news, we were talking about the Halo series. The Mortal Kombat movie that got delayed indefinitely, and again, that's due to COVID. Much like how the Tomb Raider sequel is delayed indefinitely.
When did that Tomb Raider movie come out? Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, they were set to film this year, but yeah, we probably won't see it till 2022. Hopefully. Right. So, but it sucks. But what are you gonna do? Crazy times.
Yeah, crazy times we're living in. Mortal Kombat. I think they already had a cast. They already had a cast.
And then
it, right?
I saw this today, and I didn't know what to feel about it because I was like, oh, I know they did concerts and stuff in Fortnite, right? I was like, okay, that's cool. But, you know, thinking more like, I guess this fits, right? Lil Nas X, he's going to be doing a concert on Roblox.
Oh my God.
It's, I mean, I don't know what to say, man. It's so wild. It's like, it's prime meme material, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. You know?
But yeah, to see it pop up on Roblox, I was like, that's gonna be something, man.
You know, little kids play Roblox. I'm sure kids know what Lil Nas X is. It goes hand in hand a little, you know. But hey, you know, that's gonna be very fun. I don't know how they're gonna do it. Is he gonna be like all blocky and stuff? You think like he's gonna?
Man, I hope so.
You know, so. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure he will be because, you know, Lil Nas X, he's an interesting person, let's say, because I saw his like there was some of those behind the scenes of some of his music videos, and he looked like an anime villain, right? Like with the leather spikes and all that, the contacts. I was like, yeah, we're getting kind of weird, aren't we?
Damn, yeah, that does sound a little weird, very anime, but. Well, let's see if I can't wait for the memes on that. Is all I can say, you know.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I've been slacking it on reading manga on my end lately, but slowly catching up to series and getting stuff for the manga reviews. And I was reading the new chapters for a manga called Suicide Island. This ended a while back, and the scanlations have finally caught up to the ending, so I finally read the last chapter for that. And it's a great series, man. I found it a long time ago. It was on I just saw the title and I was like, Suicide Island. Ooh, that sounds interesting.
I think you told me about this one a while ago.
Yeah, so when I checked it out, the quick premise for it is the suicide rate was very high in Japan, and it's very expensive to save a lot of these people, and and these people are doing multiple attempts. The government decided to do this program where if they committed suicide again, and they would save them, but they would ask them the question like, do you truly want to die? And if they said yes, okay, they'll fix them up, they'll heal them, and then they dump these people on an island, which is, hence Suicide Island. Mm-hmm. And then there's a sign at the port that says, you guys are considered dead. So the rest of the world, you guys have to live here, accept the consequences or whatever. And if you try to leave, we have patrol boats like around the island, so that way you can't escape, kind of thing. And so now there's this group of people stuck on an island, and they've all tried to kill themselves multiple times in their life. It's pretty crazy, man. It's a good story. We follow our main character, Sei, and it goes into more of kind of like I guess like a survival series, you could say, because they have to learn how to live off the land, cultivate. Eventually, there's our main character gets to go hunting, but there's also conflict as groups start to separate. There's two main factions on the island, and all that stuff is really solid. The writing's my favorite part. The art you can get used to. I know it's not the best, but I think it's great for conveying the emotions that some of these characters can feel, mm-hmm. and what they're doing. Highly recommend the series, man. It was great through and through. And the final chapter was satisfying, to say the least. And I figured it was going to go that route, but it was great, man.
That's good.
I think it was like 177 chapters, I think it was.
Okay. I can do that. I can fix that. It sounds like Battle Royale, but with suicide in the mix.
Yeah, it kind of is like that, yeah. And, when we start off, it gets pretty gnarly because, these people, like, they were from when they went to the hospital trying to kill themselves, and then the next time they woke up was on the island. So now they have all these conflicting emotions in the beginning, and stuff starts popping off fairly early. It gets crazy, man.
Starts with a bang.
Good stuff. Yeah. So I highly recommend that. And more on the manga end, we did get an update from Yusuke Murata. That's the artist for One Punch Man. Mm-hmm. And he says hopefully we're going to get a new chapter within 2 to 4 weeks for One Punch.
Nice.
And the reason why it's taken so long is because I'm pretty sure I haven't seen this anywhere else, but I'm sure this is the only mangaka that I've seen that will actually go back and redraw the old chapters, because the amount of work this guy puts in is crazy. Follow this account on Twitter, and they'll post updates about what's going on with the redraws, and it's more than just fixing some panels that may look wonky. He went to even getting to redesigning certain characters that show up, or adding extra lines of dialogue that gives more to those characters. And I'm talking minor characters, like some of the monsters that show up during the current arc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to me, it's just crazy that he's just going back and doing all this work.
Yeah, it's he's 60 chapters worth of redraws and stuff. I'm like, damn. That's some work, man. But I mean, he still seems like he's very much still at it. Like, he's not gonna burn out anytime soon, So
yeah, he's truly a great mangaka, man. Because, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, I wonder if this, I've never heard it happen like this before, right? Because it makes me think of Hunter x Hunter, and the mangaka for Hunter x Hunter constantly gets sick, and there was a point during one of the best arcs, the Chimera Ant arc, where it's just really, really rough storyboards, and it's just so crazy that that's how they had to put it out, you know. And I do know every now and then, you know, if they miss a deadline, the mangakas, if like they're really crunching, there will be a few panels here and there that aren't finished that I'll notice, but it's very rare. And I was like, at first when I heard redraws, I thought like, oh, maybe it's something like that. But then seeing the actual scope of it, like Murata, like you're like Muria levels, right? With Berserk, like the reason Berserk takes so long is just the amount of detail it takes.
Oh, yes.
To do each of those pages. And it's the same amount of effort and passion here. So, man, I can't wait for the new chapters as always, but just, wow. I really want to pick up these volumes now just to see how different it is. Yeah, Manga Mogura. It's a great Twitter account. They post a lot of updates for pretty much almost every series that they can. And a lot of their stuff is not like published online. It's like right off, like straight from the magazines themselves. So we get a lot of info from there. And one of the hypest things I forgot to write on the show notes that he talked about yesterday was Naoki Urasawa. Like, this is a really great mangaka. 20th Century Boys, Monster, Billy Bat.
Oh, I've heard of that.
You know, he's got a plethora of series under his belt. They revealed he's going to be working on a new animation project soon. We don't know what it is, but that got me hyped, man. Honestly, any series that he's done, if that could get animated, it's going to be a hit.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I've seen the art. I've seen the art for that. I've always wanted to read Monster.
Yeah, Monster is really good. And then I've also read Billy Bat. That was solid. And then 20th Century Boys was fantastic. I think it's probably my favorite out of the three I read. And he's done he did another series, Master Keaton, that I read, which was fun. But he definitely has a lot more I want to read, yeah. But if you want to get into some serious like storytelling, Julian, this is the guy to look up. And yeah, like I said earlier, I've been slacking it on my manga end. So, you know, every Wednesday we drop the new manga reviews that I do. But that might slow down. It depends on this week. We will let you know on Twitter and future episodes leading up to wherever we are caught up, because I do have manga reviews that are queued up, and getting close to not having any. But yeah, there will be one this week, and new webtoon will be this week as well. Like we said earlier, Marvel Talk will be out this weekend. Hopefully, we'll be talking some of the crazy news that's been popping up, and hopefully Mando season 2. I haven't watched any of the episodes yet, but I'm gonna try to get into that.
Same here. I want to watch some. This is the way, you know.
yeah. I'm trying not to get spoiled for it, but I've seen some stuff that people are having a good time with the season.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I've been hearing about it, you know. So
I think with that, safe to say we could go ahead and wrap up this episode for the week. As always, you can follow us, Unverse Podcast, anywhere on social media. Let you know when those episodes drop. Again, unversepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions or comments, would love to talk about it. Back on the streaming grind over at twitch.tv/Negator7. Going through No More Heroes, and I might alternate with that and God of War. So thanks, guys, and we will catch you on the next episode.